I had a situation happen to me when I first got into real estate in the 80s before we had computers. And I actually purchased a property at a foreclosure sale in, gosh, I think it was in Oakland, actually. And when I purchased the property on the courthouse steps, it was vacant and I bought it for a certain amount of money. And I did my research beforehand. I had gone to a title company in Livermore and had looked everything up on microfiche to make sure that what I was buying was a first position loan. Well, after I bought the property, turns out that I was actually buying a second position loan. There was already a first loan ahead of this one that I purchased, meaning I was on the hook for that first loan. And it pretty much got me out of buying foreclosures because it was such a big expense that I wasn't ready for. So when you're buying a property at foreclosure sale, you don't have that protection of title insurance. You're buying it straight from the courthouse and you have no guarantees unless you really know what's going on. Is that still the case?
Yep, still the case. Very risky. Most investors make sure they have enough room. They do their best, but they still have times where things come up. They also have what's called tax sales. So someone that doesn't pay their taxes, the county can sell their property because they were failed to pay their taxes. And so what happens on those transactions is an owner can come back and say, hey, no one's ever contacted me. I'm going to pay the taxes. They can actually take ownership back over on a tax sale property. There's so many years that go by that they can actually come back and claim that property. And so that's the risk you take. An owner that comes back and says, hey, what happened here? I own this property. What, you sold my property? There is a timeline that you have to wait before you can a title company would even transfer titles. Let's say you bought this property on a tax sale and you wanted to sell it again. Well, a title company is not going to insure that transaction for fidelity. It's 5 years later, because the owner can come back and claim that property and can state that, hey, I was never notified of this. I live in Oregon and I never received any information. I just came up to visit and now someone's living in my house. And so there is a timeline that they can come back and claim that property, pay the back taxes, even though someone took title already through a tax sale. So It's a risk that the new owner from the buyer who bought it at the tax sale could risk losing everything, their whole investment. I'm not quite sure what the years are.
Yeah, so tax sales, foreclosed properties, they don't come with title insurance normally because the transaction is outside of an escrow and title.
That's correct.
Correct?